dear friends. Good morning. This is Carly, and this is another episode of the I Learned podcast. Good morning. How are you? Ooh, my stomach just growled. I should probably go eat a dill pickle fat bomb that we made at the store for our keto friends, and then I'll be so much better. Okay, I realize you guys didn't wait, but thank you for waiting for me to get a bite of food. And yeah, take a second to do my human thing where I have to put food in the vessel, and apparently that's required. Um, that's interesting because one of the things that I've learned that has really been fun is that I actually I kind of got to tell the whole story, which is fine. So I lost 45 pounds a while back. Let's see, it was 2013 ish. Yeah. Moved to Dallas in 2011, gained 40 pounds in that first year. That's not good. Um, and so then in the process of taking it off, I took all of it off and then a little bit more and got down to a pretty low weight, which for my height, I felt like I looked really skinny. I was squeezing into a size 2 at that point. And the other thing that was happening at that point was that I was having blood sugar crashes all the freaking time. Um, and so one of the things that I've heard Abraham talk about, and it goes along with following your impulses in general, is do that with your food and eat when and what you feel like eating, and trust that your body is craving and calling for things that it knows are going to match your current vibration. So it kind of goes along with raising your frequency every day. You raise your frequency every day, and then your body is craving foods that are going to match you at that frequency. And so through that aligned eating, that's the term. Uh, I would say I've put back on maybe 15 to 20 pounds in the last few years. And I feel so much better. I don't have blood sugar crashes hardly ever anymore. And there's a little part of me that the vanity part that's I looked a little better. I was a couple sizes smaller at, I'm doing air quotes around better, by the way, but I was a couple sizes smaller 20 pounds ago, and I'm a little pudgy. I got when I put on the bathing suit, now, it's indented. And that indention, what is that? Why is that so hard to look at? I don't know if that's a media thing brainwashing us into that's bad, but yeah, I feel so much better 20 pounds heavier than I ever did 20 pounds ago. I maybe liked how I looked a little bit better, but how much I like how I feel now is way, way bigger than what I was enjoying back then. Getting to feel good, getting to throughout the day not feel nauseous and sweaty and have those ups and crashes in my blood sugar, where at that point my metabolism was just just going so fast that no matter how often I was eating, I would crash. And a lot of it at that point too was working on Cecil K's, and like I mentioned, I tend to be a workaholic, so I have to remember, and really other people on that project which is angels, angels work in mysterious ways. Other people on that project were the ones that were bringing me a bottle of water, or bringing me a sandwich, or here, Carly, come eat this. When was the last time you had a glass of water? They were actively managing my physical needs for me. And that is an interesting like like how how did that how did that look on the outside? The fact that I'm like so hyper focused into my work and like all the things on my plate at that point. Like my desk was just like an endless sea of stickies containing like all the things that I needed to do and get done. And like the to-do list, like the project, to-do list has like 400 things on it, like all in various stages of completion as we like approach opening. Um, and so like it just, yeah. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, like at Cecil K's, like in that process, this is my first business ever. This is like my first attempt at creating a business from scratch. And emotionally, I wore that like a ton of bricks. Um, and so I think that more than anything was probably responsible for my hyper focus on my work at that time, to the point where the other people around me were noticing that, one, I was like basically wasting away because I wasn't eating. And two, like that I was just going so fast for like 12 hours a day, like just going fast for 12 hours a day. And like, while we as humans can do that for a little while if we need to, you can't do it for like weeks and months at a time. And so, like, as I look back on it now, and I never have, and that's so crazy that, yes, why not? Let's process my inner unprocessed thoughts out loud on a podcast for anyone to hear. Um, it's interesting to me to think back to like, what must that have looked like on the outside? Like, that they would be concerned for me and like offering care in place of the care that I wasn't offering to myself. You know, for one thing, I'm super grateful. And at the time, I was so grateful. I loved it because every time they would mention, like, here, come eat this, or here's this sandwich, or here's this cookie, or whatever, like, every time they would feed me, instantly my body would be like, yes, please feed us. Yes, please. It was like that part of my body talking to my brain. It just was not heard. The thoughts, like the action, the process of like doing the things was so dominant that like I couldn't even hear my own body. And so, yeah, at that point, like I was having blood sugar crashes like multiple times a day. And it was awful because I felt sick. I felt like sick all the time, and I didn't have time to feel sick because I had obviously all of these things to do. And so as I opened the grocery store, that was probably a blessing in disguise, honestly, in many, 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 many ways. But for one thing, when you have a grocery store that bakes goodies every single morning, so you walk in the back door to the smell of cinnamon rolls and fresh baked bread. Uh, and then, like in the meat department, there's all these beautiful steaks and cheeses and all kinds of just yummies that need sampled. That, like, your whole job now is food. And I'm managing the beer section. I mean, we even had a liquor store there for a little while. So, like, your job is to know your product. So, professional taste tester became my responsibility and, like, brought 20 pounds back onto my physical form and probably really, like, saved me from a lot of health issues that, like, I mean, those blood sugar issues like that, just, I mean, we have a history of diabetes and that kind of thing in the family. And I don't even want to get into that. Like, it was like scary at the time to think like I'm too young to start having problems with this, you know? Like, selfishly, I don't want to deal with it. I would just rather be healthy. It would be so much easier and save me so much time. It would be, yeah, so much easier to be healthy. So that's yeah, like, wow, I gained 20 pounds and I'm kind of loving it. And when I when I sit out in my bathing suit in the summertime in the kiddie pool in my yard, and I'm sitting in the pool, cross-legged, like in the bikini, that, nobody's there. Nobody can see me. And I look down at myself and I have, this little like belly that pooches out and like some rolls. And I look at it and I'm like, you're really saving my life here. This little spare, like spare fat store. It seems to be like really helping me to wear around this extra weight, and I'm embracing it, Like every time I feel like just like devouring half a pizza, I say fucking go for it. You know, like every time it's like, okay, well, today's the day we're going to have some donuts. I fucking go for it. And I don't do that all the time. I try to eat a balanced diet as much as I possibly can, but I'm doing the aligned eating thing where I just eat what I feel like eating. And sometimes that's a yogurt, sometimes it's chicken, sometimes it's pizza. I mean, it just depends. Sometimes it's, I want to have a beer. Sometimes it's whatever. And I let myself do that. And I feel like all of it really is all a really good exercise in like learning how to trust your intuition because your body knows, your body is connected to whatever, whatever this larger energy is that we're all a part of. Your body's connected whether your thinking mind is or not. And that's the part where, like, wow, like going back to the Cecil Case example, where I mean, like, my body was purely like a work type vehicle at that point. Like, there were no frills. There was no time to even feed it yummy things. Like, we had too much work to do. And like, I'm the queen of eating yummy snacks. So like, that's saying something. Um, but it just points out that like, we can live with our thinking minds disconnected from our body, or we can give in to what our body's asking for. And I feel like that's what I practice now. And maybe I had to buy some bigger pants along the way, and that's not, always the funnest moment in your life. But at the same time, like how I talked myself through it and what I'm realizing bigger than ever right now is I would rather feel good. I would rather feel good on the inside than look a certain way on the outside. And it's not worth it to me to weigh 20 pounds less and then have to deal with the health issues that came from that for me personally. That's not to say that, other people can't be that size and feel just great, but I physically, for whatever reason, I don't think I'm meant to be that size. I think I'm meant to be wherever I am at any given moment as I allow myself to walk on this path that it just unfolds beneath my feet. And the way I eat is one of those pieces where the path unfolds. So as I take a step forward, like, ooh, I'm hungry. What do I feel like having? And the world is my oyster. The universe is the limitless possibility on what do I feel like having right now. It's not limited at all to what are the leftovers I'm supposed to be eating. I'm really bad about eating leftovers because I always feel like having something different. Like my body asks for different things all the time. So yeah, it's an interesting process to tie the way we eat in with practicing listening to our intuition. For me, it had way positive health benefits to listen to what my body was asking for, because really I think what my body was asking for was like, my metabolism, it goes too fast to be that skinny, like, and not have some kind of like, at that point you have, this sounds awful, of course we have to eat, but like you have to eat like good every day. And otherwise, like if you don't, like that metabolism, it just like consumes you, like literally, and then your stomach is like literally eating itself and it feels disgusting. um and now, I mean, now too, I've also like recovered and healed a lot through that Cecil K's experience, where that whole experience was very interesting because, for one thing, I didn't do it by myself. I had a 50-50 partner, my cousin. And so the other piece of it was that we had to borrow a large sum of money to be able to do that. And so the grace period on that financing only lasts so long before, and like rent grace period only lasts so long before you're financially on the hook to pay these bills. And while you can build a little bit of that into the upfront financing, you also need to hurry up and start making money. So there's a clock on this project as I'm doing it, which is also part of the whole like, just hyper focused into what I was doing. It was like the approach was we had to do it as fast as possible. And the difference now in my approach is I'm much more focused into rest and saving, okay, that'll be fun for another day. Like we don't have to do it all in any kind of time frame. I'm not even committed to like a final destination, like that was the other thing with that project. Like there was very much a final destination of like we need an open, staffed, stocked grocery store. And we need this to exist where customers can come and they can buy things at the checkout. Like that needs to happen. And then when they buy stuff, we need, processes to put it back on the shelf to order more and restock it. So, like all of that, it was, oh, the funnest puzzle I've ever put together in my entire life. Um, Loving puzzles runs deep in my family. We love, love, love a puzzle. And I especially love a puzzle where you start with a blank slate and there's no picture of what the finished product has to look like. Like you get to go out and find the pieces yourself and put them together however you want. Like that's my favorite kind of puzzle. And so in that, Cecil K's, oh man, it kind of still is just the gift that keeps on giving. Like it was such an exhilarating experience to get to put that together. It was also a very spiritual experience to get to put that together, to get to like practice law of attraction by attracting the components for the grocery store. That was fascinating. Like all of it just fell into place so easily, so easily. And like every little step along the way, if I even started to get off track, like not doing it the way that, Source was seeing all of this come together in a very particular way. For example, I hired, like I did, interviews, like we interviewed so many people. It was like 60 or 70 people that we interviewed, and we ended up hiring almost 30. And the guy that I hired to be the assistant manager, he was going to be like one of the first employees to start. I think well, we had an exec assistant at that point that started a few months before that, but the first like employee of the grocery store, he was going to be the first one to start, and he was going to help us finish the last 6 weeks of getting it pulled all together. And so he calls me, he's supposed to start Monday. He calls me Friday before, and he's like, Carly, I'm not coming. I'm staying at my job. They offered me a raise and I get a car. And I was like, in that moment, it was like, as I was listening to him talk, the relief washed over me, the wow, like if he was going to be persuaded by a raise in a car, and that was all it took for him to abandon the like our project here, this Cecil K's project, like, oh my God, like that was never gonna work anyway. And in that moment, I was so grateful. I felt like I had literally dodged a bullet. Um, oh, that worked out so well. And so in that moment, I got off the phone with him, called my cousin, and we talked about it. And I was like, I think we need to bring this other guy, Jeff, who we were gonna hire to be the grocery manager. But with the original assistant manager starting first, Jeff was going to come into the picture a few weeks after that. And so we bumped Jeff's starting date up, and fast forward for like three plus years later, Jeff is now running that store. Like he's a lifer. He's a dream come true as far as like being an entrepreneur and wanting to start a business but not wanting to manage it long term. He is absolutely a dream come true. I could go on and on and on, and I have many times, about how wonderful he is. And the freedom that he provides, like the fact that I can trust him and rely on him, to, keep this thing going. I mean, I poured my heart and soul for a little while into building Cecil K's, and I have very much handed the reins over to him, to continue that and to keep it alive and to carry it forward into the future for whatever it'll become else. Like I'm not really that involved with its becoming at this point. I'm now approaching building my spiritual business, and I'm learning all these lessons from Cecil K's and the way that all of that unfolded. and carrying those learnings into this next business. And it's so amazing that the main lesson and the main knowledge that I'm bringing forward is rest more. You do not have to do it all at once. You don't have to have a final destination. You can literally be like excited for 5 hours about creating this midheaven event that you got an idea for, and that's all you really need to know. The rest of it isn't your business. The rest of it is the how. Source is bringing all of these pieces to you. The how is none of our business. The fun in the moment, the path of most fun, that's our business. And so as I approach my spiritual business, I am absolutely walking the path of most fun and having the time of my life. So I thank you once again for listening as I ramble on about the path of most fun and, being these joyful, deliberate, happy people who love their life and who are living each moment as a dream come true. I love that, I get to voice this, and I love that there are people resonating with it. That's so freaking cool. And yeah, I see this going on for many, many episodes in the future. So I thank you for following along, listening, and I'll